So bright and early this morning, Disney Plus released the first episode of the long-awaited Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and still reeling off the back of WandaVision, a lot of fans have been clamouring to see all the hidden details and references they missed throughout the first episode. Well, as it is different in nature to WandaVision, it's not so detail-focused, I would say. It's actually probably more character-focused. However, in true Marvel classic style, there are some things that are worth pointing out. So, I'm Amy from What Culture, and let's take a look at some of the Easter eggs from the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. First of all, let's take a look at some of the faces that either made their first appearances or their triumphant returns. The first face that draws attention and takes us back to the days of Captain America the Winter Soldier is Batroc. This lawless criminal is back and doing what he does best, trying to hijack and ruin things. To say that this is the thing he does best may be a little offensive, seeing as he's quickly dispatched along with his whole team when the Falcon single-handedly takes them down, but it was good to see him nonetheless. Next up, we have Joaquin Torres, this seemingly insignificant soldier character who actually in the comics eventually goes on to take the mantle of the Falcon. At first acting as Sam's eyes and ears on the ground, Torres goes on to have his fair share of fanboy moments when he later quizzes Sam about Cap's whereabouts and his alleged moon base, which, sorry to spoil it for you, it's not real. In the comics, as a result of experimentation, Torres actually becomes a kind of like human-bird hybrid, but I doubt that that's the direction that the MCU is going to take him in. For now, he just seems like a sound guy, a good friend and ally for Sam. Speaking of friends, it was lovely to get to see Rhodes again, dressed up in his full regalia to pay respects to Steve's memory. We don't know if he's dead, but it very much seemed like that was kind of a ceremonial handing over of the shield and a memorial service. Don't know if anyone else got those vibes. Having a moment between him and Sam was a nice touch, and it added a bit more emotion to what was already a pretty emotion-heavy episode. But Rhodes wasn't the only one who was there to add a bit of dimension to Sam and his struggles. We also got to meet Sam's sister, Sarah, and his two young nephews, learning a bit about their struggles to keep the family business afloat and the friction that Sam's absence has caused between him and his sibling. Lastly, we got to meet the new Captain America, with his sly grin and that horrible wink and everything. It seems like they're instantly trying to manufacture the audience's disdain for this newcomer, and it's working. Though he wasn't actively named in the episode, we know that this new Cap is US Agent John Walker. He's an established character in the comics, but we don't know the exact angle that the MCU is going to take with him yet, because we're not sure how well his comic background would fit with the direction they seem to be taking this series in. What we do know right now is that he is a nasty piece of work, and that it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do with this character. In his very brief appearance, actually, you may have noticed a couple of fun Easter eggs in his costume. First of all, his helmet. You'll notice that there is a logo on the front on his head, which is a combination of the A and the star, which are both symbols that Captain America Steve has used. He used them sort of one or the other, but this may be the first time that we've seen them combined into one for this funky new rebrand. Another thing that may be worth noticing is that he also appears to be carrying a firearm, which is something that Bucky does when he becomes Cap in the comics. Amongst all these cameos and first appearances, there were a couple of extra details that are worth noticing. We'll start with a couple of things that really helped with the post-blip world building, one of them being Sam's family, boat and business. The family business doesn't exist in the comics, so there's no deep backstory there. But what it seems to do here is to give us some context to Sam's family situation and the hardships they've faced throughout the blip. A decrepit old boat that's barely still staying afloat, that's weathered by years of hard work and being battered with the absence of half of the world's population. I mean, does it not seem like a metaphor for something? This, with the addition of the insight we gained at the bank, really helped give us an idea of what life has been like in that world. They're all down on money, down on luck, and really in need of a good thing coming. Another fun bit of the episode that gave us a few Easter eggs was the museum exhibit of Steve's old Captain America stuff. Not only did it show us what America is doing in the absence of its beloved hero, apart from replacing him immediately with someone else, but I guess that's a whole other story, but it also gave us a pretty sweet look at his props and possessions from over the years, shield, motorbike and all. In terms of props and tech, this episode also saw the return of the Falcon's Red Wing. Playing a vital role in Sam's opening battle with Batroc, that terrific piece of tech is sure to continue being an important asset to the Falcon. Now, we've had a lot of focus on Sam so far, but Bucky didn't let us down in this episode either. Seeing him in therapy as a condition of his pardon was a good way of indicating to the audience that he has not got off scot-free from his past crimes. Having seen his nightmares and flashbacks, however, we know that even without outside consequence, he's punishing himself in his own head. An early flashback that saw him killing an innocent bystander whilst carrying out some hydro work came to fruition later on. We see that he's maintaining a friendship with an old man, taking him out for food and guiding him away from conflict. If we thought this was purely an indicator of his goodwill, then that was soon dashed away when we saw a framed photo of the man's late son in his apartment, a photo of the very bystander we earlier saw Bucky slaughter. This is where we can bring in another important item that featured in the episode, Bucky's list of amends. On the advice of his therapist, he has a list of people that he needs to make good with, whether that's getting a corrupt person out of a position of power he put them in, or perhaps giving some peace through truth to a mourning old man. It's also worth noting that this list format and the shots that show it harken back to Steve's lists of old, where he kept track of all the pop culture things he missed. It's a loose tie, but it's hard not to draw the parallels when it visually looks so similar, and when it's from a character who was obviously so closely tied to Cap. Another throwback to our beloved Steve could easily have been missed, and comes when we see that Bucky sleeps on the floor in his apartment. Some people may recall a conversation shared between the two heroes, where they discussed that after their time in the military they found it hard to sleep on proper pillows and mattresses. When Bucky awakes from his nightmare, we see that he's sleeping on the floor still, with just a blanket and what appears to be a sofa cushion as a pillow. We see that he continues to battle with his trauma, but he's doing his best to work through it, by making his amends and making himself comfortable in his life wherever he can. Some people are saying that this show might end up being a bit of a character study, and in a way I can see where they're coming from. It's easy to dismiss that idea based on the fact that there's obviously some classic Marvel action, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there's still a lot of focus on the characters' lives, their backstories, and their emotions. There's definitely potential for a lot of character building. We've looked at trauma, loss, the stress and financial hardship in the post-blip world, friendship and redemption. I mean, sure, it wasn't all in ocean-deep detail, but give them a chance, it's only the first episode. As the story unfolds and we get to see the characters interacting more with each other and maybe having some introspective moments with themselves, this could end up being a really revealing series, so don't discount it too quickly. We're going to leave it there for today, but obviously there is still so much more to discuss, so make sure you don't miss Ewan's video in which he goes into a bit of a breakdown and some more details around our new villains. Let us know what you thought of this episode and any things that you want us to discuss in the comments down below. And remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.